Welcome to the podcast, everybody. We're joined by Jake, familiar face, and also this week by Hannah. Welcome to the podcast, Hannah. Hannah, freelance journalist, and been working with us now for, how long has it been? 6-8 months?
Yeah, quite up there.
Quite a long time. So welcome to the podcast. It's about time that we...
Let me out the office.
Yes. So today's podcast, will this hopefully be the one that takes us past 1,000 subscribers on the podcast channel, which is fantastic. Thanks for following on, and thanks for all your valuable input as well. We've got quite a lot to get through today. A little bit of a response to our Shimano video, not dwelling on that too much. We want to talk a bit about our reaching 50,000 subscribers, and I've done a bit of research into where we sit in the whole media world, which has been fascinating research that you've done for us. eBay have just banned the sale of eBikes, which is very, very interesting. You've got some stuff to say on there. That's one of your one of the things you do is the PhD in eBikes, which you're going to hear more about. And as a response of the Shimano video, loads of you asked about Campagnolo. So we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive into Campagnolo, why we don't feature it on the channel so much, and how we might address that in the future. Quite a lengthy episode.
What let's get through today?
Quite a lengthy episode. So the response from the Shimano video has been absolutely fascinating, and the comments that everyone put into that was just really insightful. I feel like I've learned a lot from reading them. And we've just printed out a few here, and there's a couple of things that really stood out for me. Was one of the sort of three types of responses. Riders, their response was very much concerned, still scared. It seemed to be the thing. Other bike shops seem to be, some people do the similar thing to us, and some that don't, including quite famously, we had one from GC Performance here, who put some clarification that in the US, everything goes back anyway.
Just a blanket, just doesn't matter, just gone.
Everything goes back. And interesting, actually, we had quite a few who were engineers, car mechanics, who didn't really quite understand the sort of situation that we were put into. So hopefully we're going to sort of clarify that a little bit as well. In fact, that's probably the biggest thing, is to clarify as to what we are actually doing and why we do that stance. And actually, fact, Jake, you've been doing a lot of the inspections.
So if you go back about a year ago on the channel, you'll find the original video we did on the Shimano Crank Recall. And so Shimano effectively give you, it's about a 40-page document on the whole inspection process, and how to go through it. And we recap that. And that was effectively all the learning that we got about this sort of situation, how we're going to deal with it, is basically a 40-page document, and that's about it. And so basically for the last year, we have pretty diligently been going through every sort of available crankset that has been through the shop. So you have your little production code on it. Every one that's come through the shop, we've given the customer a shout and said, this is up for recall, do you want us to inspect it? And then we'll take it off the bike, chain rings off, give it a good clean, look through, and then send it up to Shimano.
The fillable paperwork. Yeah, absolutely. And what's interesting here is Jake is actually one of the most qualified bicycle mechanics in the country.
So funnily enough.
And we just say that because when they actually launched the first UK apprenticeship, Jake Atkinson was the first.
Yeah.
And you were very closely behind him. I think there's a couple of the people in the country before you. And that is as high qualifications you can get for bike mechanics.
Which is pretty crazy.
Which is pretty crazy, because most people out there have just had a 10-day training course. Maybe a few have gone on to do level 3 side tech, which is another 3 or 4 days. And that's it. That's our training. So the engineers in all this were very much like, why haven't you had training in this? Well, we're not metal experts. What's the right word, Jake?
Metallurgist.
Thank you.
According to Google.
And we've never been taught how to test metals. We don't have any qualification, a piece of paper that says you've done that.
Yeah, all we've got is a document for Shimano in my own 2 eyes, which is maybe not the most accurate thing in the world, but
yes, I think so. And then when it all came through, we were in quite a weird position, actually, because we are a workshop only, which really freaks out insurance companies, we find, because whenever we try to renew our insurance, we say, well, what percentage of your sales come from retail and what percentage come from workshop? And when I say that 90% of our sales come from workshop and that our turnover is excess of a one-man band, alarm bells go off. They don't know what to do with it. So we always get referred on to a specialist. And as a result, when this all came out, I spoke to my insurance company and they're like, Reliability is liability, negligence is negligence. I wouldn't do anything you're uncomfortable with. And that was the advice. So, there we go. So, yeah, interesting. I think we'll probably put some of these up as we've been talking and see how we go. Okay, put that to bed.
Yeah.
Okay, Hannah, on to some of your specialist subjects, media. This is fascinating research here. This has come from VidIQ, isn't it? And you've actually done some freelance writing for some of these people. We're going to put this up on the screen. And what we're looking at here is the viewing stats for traditional media, Bike Radar, Cycling Weekly, Road CC, people who we might be competitors with, Global Cycling Network, GCN. When you pulled this, what was your idea? What was when you looked at the landscape that we're in, what caught your eye?
Well, for me, it's trying to understand where the landscape lies. It's changed an awful lot. You know, I've been involved with the cycling industry and cycling media for far too long, decades, and it has changed a lot in that time. You know, in the time I've worked here, we've had print, websites, YouTube, you know, and there's established brands who've traded on maybe their print history or their website history and become YouTube channels, and they've got a really, really high subscriber rate. And talking to people in the cycle industry, subscriber rate is what they look at first. And we're doing really well. Like, since I've been here, I think we've picked up another 20,000. We've hit the 50,000 mark. We're definitely growing, but we don't have the subscriber rate that some of the other channels do. You know, channels that have been around for a long time and are trading on an established name. And when YouTube established, people were quick to subscribe, and that has definitely tailed off. That's definitely a trend. People are not subscribing as much as they used to.
Much of that to do with the algorithm. I don't know if I subscribe to that many times.
I don't subscribe to a lot, because if there's something that I enjoy watching, it will just tell me
it delivers it
this again.
Yeah,
and that's great. I don't have to do anything. It just delivers it to me on my doorstep.
It sort of thinks for you in a way.
It does.
You like this, you might like that. So you don't have to subscribe to get it fed to you in the way that you used to. But
do you think there's still a bit of old school thinking in the industry a little bit?
Oh, I think the subscriber rate's an easy algorithm, an easy metric, for everyone to see, because you can go as a YouTube user and you can look at someone's site and you can really easily see how many their subscribers are. So it's a top line number. It's a metric that stands out. It's simple, but you have to dig a bit deeper and scratch below the surface to find out the engagement and the viewing rates. And I think that's where we're really, really strong. And that's probably the most important to brands as well, because it's the amount of time people are spending viewing your videos and the amount of time they're spending engaging. You know, they're not just having it scrolling in the background, they're actually paying attention to what you're saying. And that's very significant.
I think we've got a very lovely audience who just fills our comments, but are really insightful.
Yeah.
And actually will call us out as well, which I love.
Yeah, we're held to account every single time by our own audience, and that's very important.
And sometimes I overstep the mark and I reflect on that and try and put it right for the next video, and always trying to get better and stuff that we do. I was drawn to this because I hadn't really realised where we were in the great scheme of things. I think a lot of our viewers come from Hambini and Pig Talk. They seem to get mentioned in the comments a lot, and you probably look at those two and big numbers of subscribers. But we have surpassed Hambini and Pig Talk in viewership by a long way. Hambini total views lifetime of his channel began a lot longer. That's only 16 million. And we're at 19 million, and that was like, oh wow, people are really watching our stuff. I think people compare us a lot to Path Less Pedal, the lovely chap. I really enjoy watching that. Again, 47 million total views. Have been going a long time, but the daily average only 26. Our daily average is 38,000 views per day, and that's a rolling average of 365 days.
Which is bonkers. Well, that's a lot of people. A lot of people.
Yeah, that's what surprised me the most. Is nearly 40,000 people every day are watching me and you.
Yeah, just at our little workshop
along in the workshop. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I guess the power of YouTube now, and I think you were talking about some stats about how powerful YouTube has actually become bigger than Netflix now.
Yeah. Even that's on own TVs alone. YouTube makes up more percentage of watch time than it does than YouTube, than Netflix, Amazon, all that sort of stuff on televisions alone, which I think is crazy.
I think about some of the stuff that I watch on YouTube. I'm on confessions here, like And I do indulge in a lot. I watch Alex Dill, the blacksmith. I love his channel. I like Bake with Jack, his current one that I'm watching at the moment. Learn how to make sourdough. Anything you guys want to confess to watching on YouTube?
I watched a really good video the other day from Philly Bowden, who is a marathon runner, and she just ran a 2-hour 25 marathon, I think it was, at the Berlin Marathon, and she had a 30-minute full race day breakdown, and that was a very, very good watch.
I think it's just incredible. Any confessions?
No, but talking about marathons, I really enjoyed the video from the wine taste expert, whose name sadly escapes me now, who's also a cyclist, so we need to reach out to him at some point, who is doing a wine tasting every mile of a marathon. That takes serious dedication.
Another YouTube favourite of mine is the beer mile as well. Give that a watch.
There is a marathon in France. It's called the Mapdec.
Yeah.
Is that the one?
No, he did it at London.
It just did London. But there's a proper thing in Bergen, isn't there? Oh my God.
Yeah. But isn't that what's great about YouTube? That whatever niche and specialist interest or weird kind of like the Venn diagram of different interests, you can find it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Almost anything you can imagine, there's someone on there talking about it.
And just coming back to this chart very quickly, the thing that really strikes me is that what we'd consider traditional cycling media, Cycling Weekly, been around for a long time, Road CC, Bike Radar, which grew out of print publications and then online and then eventually into YouTube, they're not actually growing that much.
No, it does seem that they've contracted a little bit. They're not picking up the viewers. They're not moving forwards. I mean, whether that's their budgets, their strategy, they don't have enough time, they don't have the presenters, they're focused more on the print or on the website, or whether it's more that viewers are now looking for something different. They don't want to see journalists, of which I was one for a long time, sort of separated from them as a consumer. But actually what we've got here is real people walking through the door with real problems. We've got a real workshop with real bikes being worked on, real issues. So it's much more relatable for the consumer than a journalist who's, gets all the nice kit sent through the post and gets to test it.
Yeah. I have to admit, we talked about it with Simon, the crossing this 50,000 barrier and seeing that we surpassed Cycling Weekly and Road CC in average daily views, which I think is probably a sign of a channel getting traction as opposed to one that's slowing down. It really made me think, like, what is it that we offer? We get opportunities all over the place now, don't we?
Yeah.
And a lot of them we could, no, we're not touching that. As to go, how do we go forward? How do we still maintain our genuine bike shop in Cumbria thing who just makes really nice bikes for people and fixes problems, and at the same time bring a more genuine, what's the right word, story, I guess, in cycling media? Because I think when we've done reviews of group sets like the SRAM Red launch, I think we probably brought something very unique to that space.
Yeah, it's credible, it's authentic, it's your qualified mechanics working in a proper workshop, doing things with it. It's not just an out the box test.
Yeah, I think it's because we are service first, video second.
Yeah.
So it's you get what you see. It's we try to be as honest as possible. We try to put across what we're actually doing, and I think that's the sort of differentiator rather than media first. Yeah,
and I think consumers who are watching videos are getting a little bit more savvy about the flow of money and power in media. We've built up Mapdec on, really, you had just done videos on what's walking the door. So customers' bikes, products that people have bought, products that you've chosen to ride yourselves.
Yeah.
And there's no money changing hands here for reviews. There's no affiliates. And I think that makes us very different. And understanding, I think the consumer is beginning to get a bit more wary about why people are saying the things they're saying.
And we have biases, for sure. Like, we often get called out, it's another look or time video. And I'm sorry, but
I did see in the comments under the 785 video that we did recently, someone said they just watched a 19-minute ad.
I mean, just if part of me is like, well, good, we obviously made it interesting enough, and it wasn't until the...
they watched 9 minutes of it.
Yeah, something interesting enough, and hopefully they still got entertained and learned something from it, and then realised it was an ad. I don't know what to say about that, really. We're still a business, and we have biases, and hopefully those biases are really obvious, but they're biases because they're stuff that I worked with for a long time, and you put your name and your face above the door of an establishment, and you pick the products that you really honestly, genuinely believe in. And I always think that what YouTube's allowed us to do here is publish our thoughts and words, rather than just say, hey, look, everyone looked at it and put the logo outside. This gives us the opportunity of going, look, this is why I like this brand, and this is the detail, and this is like why I get excited about it. And it's more fun, I'm sure. But yeah, maybe we need to be a bit more clear as to what's been provided for review, because we have been sent things like Big One bottom brackets, which we reviewed. That was just like me being genuinely interested. Oh, that's like never seen that before, and stuff that we don't sell them really. We're kind of dipping our toe in the water with it. Yeah. And we're still very much like you guys. We're looking for your feedback as well. It's still quite young and stuff that we've got a lot of history with. Yeah, interesting landscape, I think.
Do you know what else is an interesting landscape?
Go on.
E-bikes.
Yeah. Good segue, Jake.
Because we have seen very recently announced, I think it was even today, that eBay are banning the sale of second-hand e-bikes.
Big move.
Yeah. Now, I want to hand over to our e-bike expert.
Yeah, what were your thoughts when you first saw that?
Well, it is an interesting one. It's in the press this week. There's been, people are very concerned about house fires caused by e-bikes. We all know in the industry that e-bikes are here to stay. I hope they're here to stay.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah, I agree.
E-bikes are transforming the landscape of cycling for a lot of people. As you mentioned, I'm studying a PhD, researching at the moment how e-mountain bikes are used by older people to stay engaged with the sport, to keep riding, to keep hammering the trails. And I think they're fantastic for the landscape of cycling. People can commute to work who might otherwise be driving. At every single level, I think e-bikes have a lot to offer. But we also know there's a lot of rogue bikes out there that are not safe and that have been, tinkered together with all kinds of dodgy parts. And for me, the clarity needs to be around e-bikes are safe when they're from a recognised manufacturer and they're properly looked after. So all of the stuff around house fires and all the rest of it, we don't always get the clarity on what type of e-bike it was. So there's a lot of fear. It's interesting that eBay's taking this stance at this point in time.
It says in the bottom of the article, we'll flash the article up here, it's in response to a piece of legislation that they think is going to go through Parliament. It hasn't gone through Parliament yet, about the restricting this stuff anyway. And eBay being a little bit proactive in it, predicting that this legislation is going to go through. For me, it also comes on the back of that visit that we had from Trading Standards, that we made a very famous short about, who were saying, don't recommend touching anything that's unbranded. We didn't do that anyway because, again, coming back to our insurance recommendations was like,
but it went as far as to say, even if it's a problem completely unrelated to the e-bike nature of it, even if it's a customer's got a problem with the brakes, we service the brakes and then they take it home and it sets the house on fire. We're the last ones who looked at it.
Yeah.
That's a bad day.
Yeah.
That's what Trading Standards are trying to warn us of. I'm like, yeah, okay. I mean, to be honest, we see some really ropey stuff. And I just come into the building and I'm like, get out of there. We keep walking that direction, get that out of the shop. And they're the ones that really, really are terrifying. Like the battery wobbling around, the casing is cracked. Sometimes we've even seen them sort of starting to swell.
Exposed wires and all that sort of stuff.
The charger is like just 2 bits of random wire that they crocodile clips. Sometimes I've seen it all the time. Oh my God. And you just, how are you putting that in your own house?
But this is where the education comes in, isn't it? And that's something that everyone who works within cycling can help with, is educating people what to look for, what to worry about, when to get help. If you see, exposed wires, white smoke coming out your battery when you're charging it, at what point do you need to do something about things?
It's something that does concern me a little bit about the ban of secondhand e-bike sales on eBay is if you say you've got a certain budget for an e-bike and you think, right, my best bet is a secondhand market, but then you go on eBay, you can't find any. Say everyone else follows suit, Facebook, you can't find any. If you've got a certain budget for an e-bike and you want an e-bike, you would then, in my head, you'd be more likely to go and buy something off-brand and potentially more dangerous.
Yeah.
Because even if you could afford a really nice Bosch bike that's secondhand, actually if you think, oh, well, I don't want to stretch to the new price, in my head, you'd be much more likely to then go and buy something that's off-brand and more of a risk. So I don't know how much, whilst they have a point with this ban of second-hand sales because of the dangers of shipping and all that sort of stuff, and you never know how a battery's been treated. If it's from an established manufacturer, Shimano, Yamaha, whoever, is a second-hand bike more dangerous than...
Interesting. Such a point. So what you're saying is that maybe a second-hand Bosch would still be considered safer than a brand new...
I would rather have a second-hand branded motor than a
Chinese alphabet soup brand. Yeah, I could probably concur with that. At least you could take that Bosch e-bike into a Bosch dealer and say, can you look at this for me, and can you tell me?
But could this be where it ends up, that we have a legitimised second-hand market where bikes do get tested and do get checked before they can be sold?
Well, interesting, yeah. Because actually eBay do that with with trainers, the sneakers. They actually have little places we can get. I've not seen it.
No.
The sneaker market is massive, and people trade them like trading cards. You can go to shops now and go and say, can you authenticate my sneakers are original? And you get an eBay mark that says, these sneakers are authentic, original. You're allowed to sell your Nike Air Jordans as an authentic Nike Air Jordans on eBay. So eBay obviously open to that kind of authentic before it goes on to sale. I think it's going to rage on and on. I mean, Bosch are on top of it, aren't they? You've been in communication with Bosch around their Campy.
Yeah, consumer campaign, really trying to raise awareness so that the panic around the fires and the hazards are allayed, and education so that people can be confident in what they're buying. And I think that's critical. If people can understand what they're buying and make informed choices, then that's great. But I think the price is still the biggest barrier.
Yeah.
So maybe removing the second-hand market might change the top line of brand new bikes as well.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's something to keep an eye on.
Yeah,
definitely.
A little bit on batteries, because we are so used to lithium batteries in our life. And the e-bike batteries, they're massive. When they go off, compared to these little battery. I'm going to try
segue change.
When these go off, and they not necessarily a Campagnolo one, but when smaller batteries like this in your phone, they don't tend to be so catastrophic, do they?
Unless it's a Samsung Note 7 or whatever it was.
So,
and you're not leaning that up in the hallway if you're flat either. It's also where you charge your bike's important.
Or a big high-powered charger, sorts, Very, very different landscape, absolutely. So,
Campagnolo.
We're not allowed to pronounce the G in it. It's got to be
Campagnolo.
Campagnolo, yeah. It's difficult for us Brits to not pronounce the G, but we've got to remember not to pronounce the G. Yes, this comes from the back of on this whole Shimano thing. Loads of you are like, do you know what have Campagnolo got to offer the space at the moment? We don't cover it a lot. We have covered it. We don't cover it a lot because it's just not as common. In all honesty, it's quite rare that we have, lots of group sets. We've currently got an EPS one over there.
And we have a chorus
one in there at the moment, going on at the moment. But it's, we don't see it all the time, do we?
No, it's especially on new bikes now. It's very, very difficult to actually find a Campagnolo spec bike.
It is, actually.
It is surprisingly, considering how historically sort of important they've been to the cycling market. It's surprisingly difficult to find a Campagnolo group set on a bike.
Really only in the very top end, Bianchi and Campagnolo really that probably still have them. There's others, please let me know in the comments stuff, but they're the ones that I kind of think of. So, they're not being spec'd OEM on bikes as frequently. I think that's because Veloce doesn't exist. Potenza doesn't really exist. It's a little bit out of date. Your entry level to Campagnolo now is Chorus, which is lovely. I mean, this is like, if this is your entry level into the brand, I mean, it's freaking gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah.
But for the cost of a Campagnolo mechanical group set, you could have Shimano Ultegra and DIT.
And a bit of change as well.
A bit of change.
Yeah, I think that's the reason it's so difficult to recommend, because as lovely as it is, that is the number one thing, is it looks awesome. It looks great. But for an Ultegra Di2 group set and change, I just could not, especially for mechanical, because nowadays mechanical is not particularly desired. I think it's
actually getting harder to find frames that you can actually fit mechanical too. It's actually one of the frequent questions actually when we show a new 785 or whatever is it compatible with mechanical? And there's an awful lot of frames aren't.
Yeah, especially with all the cables going through the headset, all that sort of stuff. It's difficult to fit a mechanical group set now, which it's harder than to fitting an electronic group set. Pretty backwards.
Yeah, and not necessarily, even if you can.
Should you? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's such a difficult recommendation because of the costs, effectively. And even with, they do have now quite a good range of electronic stuff, but the old style EPS with the all the hardwired connections coming out of the battery.
Yeah, if you've not seen an EPS battery before, this is an EPS battery, and unlike Shimano, you've got to buy all this nest of cables, and the cables connect halfway through your frame. So just replacing a battery is really hard work.
Yeah,
because you've got to get access to all these connections.
Yeah, and batteries do wear out, and all that sort of stuff because it's a battery.
And how much is this, Jake?
350 quid currently for a previous generation battery. Now, the most recent wireless stuff has the more SRAM style battery on the derailleurs, but we are still yet to see that in action, and it is £4,500.
And the problem is that the lithium in here is no different to the lithium in any of the other battery. The lithium batteries have still got a shelf life.
Yeah,
There's no way that Campagnolo can say that our batteries are going to last longer than any other battery. That makes it very, very difficult.
So who's buying Campag? Who do you see?
Not many people. I mean, the ones we've got in at the minute is we've got one that's going on a rim brake frame that may be on the channel, may not be. I hope it will be because it's pretty cool.
I hope that we have enough time to build that, because that's a really sexy and unusual bike.
It's pretty cool. So it's either it's a little bit retro and they want something to sort of bring back the past. You still got the famous thumb shifter on the Chorus group set that you said you didn't get on with.
It's because I got small thumbs.
It's true though. On the drops, with small hands, how the end do you get your thumb?
Even me, I still don't. I've not ridden a lot of Campag, but it's still inconvenient to get to, regardless of the size of your hands, to reach up for a thumb shifter instead of the finger paddles. I think to me, I've never owned a Campag group set myself, and it's just the thumb button is completely foreign to me.
It's interesting. I don't think many people in your generation will have, because they're just not spec'd on the bikes anymore. Where they used to be able to entry level into Veloce and Potenza and etc. And
it was probably at one point almost a 50-50 marketplace. There was a lot more Campag at the lower end than there is now, and people were almost making a choice between being mainly a Shimano user or a Campag user. But that marketplace has changed as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, especially with SRAM coming through and all the L2s and the like.
You don't really see L2s and stuff yet. No. I know everyone talks about it in the comments, but they're a long, long, long way from what I could call mass.
100%.
A long, long way. But I really struggle. I mean, Ekar is atrocious. I can't even believe that's still on the market. It's so bad. It is so fiddly to set up. It needs constant adjustment. It's like even the slightest little bit of corrosion on your cable and your gears are all over the place. The cassette creaks unless you torque it down way beyond torque, etc. And there's all sorts of hacks. Ekar is just Chorus is freaking lovely and it is amazing. But you're right, you still be compatible with your frame,
and you're still paying 1,500 quid for a mechanical group set. I think you have to really love Campag to be fitting it.
The older EPS, which is still on the market, really hard to recommend, because it's not going to be long until that just withdraws, and all of a sudden it's going to be hard to find these parts. We've already done a video a long time ago about that. How those, and then the new stuff is just
so ridiculously expensive,
but beautiful.
But it looks unbelievably good. But for the general consumer, I can't recommend a £4,500 group set.
And I haven't seen it in the flesh yet. I've seen it at a trade show, and I haven't seen it in the flesh. I've definitely not ridden it.
No,
I can't really comment. I'd love to, because it looks amazing. I love what they're doing with the whole gear ratios and thinking about that a whole lot more. And because if anyone's out there from Campagnolo is listening, please, we'd love to have some experience with the new stuff rather than just
guessing,
visualizing it. I'd love to give you guys a whole lot more of a deeper understanding of the new stuff, because people that we're serving bikes to are going, I'd love to Campagnolo, and making it a really difficult decision. They're looking at the SRAM Red and what they get with SRAM Red and Dura-Ace, and it's torn.
There's a lot of value on heritage there. There's a lot when you're making that choice.
And there's some Campagnolo lovers out there who want to be passionate about it, and the logic sort of takes over. There's definitely a battle between logic and passion, I think, going in there. So Yeah. Again, over to you guys. What can we tell you about Campagnolo? If we were to reach out to Campang and say, come on, let's educate our audience, this new growing audience, about Campagnolo, to an audience that is receptive from an alternative to Shimano. What do you want to know? Let's see if we can get them on the channel and do some stuff on it, and see if we can make some interesting stuff. I kind of want to give Campagnolo more of a shot. I feel like the stuff they've got to offer the industry that we're kind of missing, and I think we need another competitor in the market. It's not LT Woo or stuff. Not yet. I know they just brought Rotor, which is interesting, and I know that they're definitely trying, but they've got a long way to go before you walk into a bike shop and we can get hold of a spare brake caliper or a broken lever or something. It's a long way to go. I think we're about done. Did we manage all of that?
I think so.
That's a pretty good effort.
That's right. If you're still watching, well done. Congratulations. Please think about subscribing to this channel. We're trying to get over that 1,000 subscriber mark as soon as we possibly can. If you haven't seen that Shimano video, we'll put a link down below and you can watch it on the main channel. Please, as always, add your thoughts, opinions, your ideas. We read every single comment. I don't always reply to every single one, but I definitely read every single one. I find it absolutely fascinating. And that feedback is so valuable in making us a better bike shop and a better channel. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.
Yeah.